Here, Sergey, welcome to the third hour.
Thank you. Not here.
Okay, floor is yours again.
Okay. Thank you very much. I will continue. Again, let me remind you that nowadays we're discussing the tools for understanding our internal audiences, so the people who work in our company, and how to get information from them. As we have already mentioned, that one of the way is to conduct surveys. Yes, you have to let people speak in a comfortable way about what they think about the company, how they feel the atmosphere, just letting them express their opinion. So this will allow us to understand not only how our audience think about a certain topic, for example, using this management communication. And it will allow us also to understand whether the thoughts are improving or getting worse year on year. Especially if you have surveys from the previous years and you can compare, then you can monitor the situation and make sort of analysis of how the situation changes or not changes to the better. Of course, you can compare these results to those within the rest of the industry. So having this kind of a benchmarking and comparing with competitors to what situation is out there on the market is going to be quite a useful tool. But this one doesn't allow to probe into the reasons behind the results, because generally the surveys are not designed in the way that will provide some more detailed information. In this case, a possible solution can be a combination of both qualitative and survey methods together with the interviews and the focus groups. And let me speak about the focus groups and the workshops in a more detailed way. So, there should be audiences to be included in a number of newly joined or longer serving engineers that form the same group. Let's say that we're going to monitor the situation and we're going to assign a focus group. I mean, the group that is going to produce the opinion, the information that then will be extrapolated to the whole population. So this focus group has to be representative based on what sort of population or what sort of audience you have in the company. That is why a good idea will be to combine newly joined and those long-time staff workers, engineers in the same group. So, in this case, also, the practical solution to review an opinion across organizations can be varied and diverse, especially when the workforce is split across different sites in the countries. You have mentioned that sometimes there are types of the budgets and time constraints and time-consuming processes. So, especially if the company is quite diverse and has representative offices in different countries, these kind of, focus group methods is going to work really well in order just to save our time and budget, not to, to conduct a survey upon all the members of the company. You have to define a focus group and try to find your result in there. For many types of the employees, these are quite beneficial tools, but we have to have an idea that this is less often used for senior managers. Why? Because of their contribution and because of their opinion. Generally, senior managers, top managers are welcome to produce their opinion, their insights, because they have, let's say that, the handful of the information at their disposal. That is why for them another tool is going to be used instead of these focus groups. There are many groups also can be a combination of these focus groups with the difference that it has to be like between 2 to 4 people in there. And it has to be a kind of a bridge between the full focus group and the interviews. This type of getting information is really good for team leaders and for managers, especially managers at the middle. Nowadays, online focus groups are becoming more and more popular. Of course, especially if the company is, located in different sites and in different countries, and some of them are, those groups are distant from one another. So internet can be a great tool to still get the information, though Here also there are some downsides. For example, you can lose your interaction in here because if it is online, eye contact and all of those kind of non-verbal information, which are gestures and mimics and the atmosphere and the tone of the voice. I mean, all of those benefits that you can get in face-to-face interviews can be lost with online type of communication. Interviews. Still nowadays, because we're human beings, we're very much related to the communication. Interviews are still becoming the top priority for getting, let's say, the most reliable and full information. The interviews can be different also. They can be face-to-face interviews, which are likely to be used with top managers. They could be telephone interviews also, especially if the distance is a problem. Or nowadays, instead of telephone interviews, online interviews can be used instead. These give you more technical opportunities to still get the information in a more reliable way. And as I said before, the interviews are more likely to be used with senior managers, with top management, because of their ability to produce opinions, not just to answer questions, yes or no, or give information, but sharing their ideas, their thoughts, their methods of work, their improvement ideas. So this is going to be the most beneficial. We were speaking about using internal audience, internal workforce of the company to do the surveys to get the information about the brand. But is it possible to use external audience? I mean, those people who are out of the company nowadays and who do not work for the company. And the answer is going to be positive, because understanding your own employees is quite important, right? But this is not going to give you the complete, this is not going to construct the complete picture of that, because people who work in the company are very much influenced by the brand, by the company, by the managers, by the processes that are happening. And sometimes they can be more or less isolated from the real situation, especially those ones who are working in a company for a long time. I mean, this is not just their job to get interested in what is out there, other people are speaking about the company. So that is why they might lose the path, they might lose the contact with, let's say, that real world. But isolation is one of the downsides that we have to avoid, certainly, because each brand, each employer branding activity doesn't have to do in isolation. Isolation is, let's say, that one of the first enemies in here and the obstacle that we have to avoid. We need to, instead, we need to understand not only people who join and stay, but also people who do not work, and, which is also more important, people who do not want to work for you. Why? Because they have some reasons. And those reasons can be very much beneficial for you to create the big picture. Analyzing this sort of information is going to be quite important for you to form a really good employer brand strategy. Potential employees is another segment out there who can be treated and can be investigated as the potential source of information for your brand. So these are the people that could work for the company, especially those who the company wants to attract. I have already mentioned this war for talents, and there are some specialists, there are some highly qualified managers whom the company wants to have, but I don't know, maybe because of some of the reasons, company couldn't do that until the moment. In this case, the strategy and the tactics of dealing with potential employees have to align with the internal workforce and also with the HR and recruitment strategy of the company. So potential employees, again, have to be treated and have to be investigated in the context of present human resource strategy and the tactics of the company. Now, to segment the audience, we need to ask actually basic questions in order just to understand what principles we're going to use for that. So, first of all, we need to define what are the functional areas that we should survey, and that is why we will decide what sort of, responsibilities on people of what sort of professional area we're going to focus on. We also need to make sure that there are any groups of people which are harder to attract and retain than the others. I mean, if you need some, let's say, that very narrow qualified specialists, so what area it has to be and what sort of market is behind them. So that they're working. And we also need to understand that the people, what people do in different locations, they think different things. So because of the location, because of their presence, they also can produce some different type of information. The opinions which are treated quite important, it has to be like, for example, direct competitors for the same type of talent that you're using. So their opinions are quite important for them, because the way that they treat those potential employees, those potential highly qualified talents, can be different from yours and maybe more beneficial. And in this case, we need to benchmark and we need to learn the lesson, what we are doing wrong and what they are doing right, in this case, to attract this kind of workforce. And also, which is important, that's the overall opinion of the industry groups and rankings and the present situation and the information that is published there, published in the newspapers, in professional industry magazines, or on the internet nowadays. I mean, all the life is turned into the virtual environment, so that is why we can grab lots of information. Again, we do not have to underestimate the importance of this information out there in the whole industry. As I have mentioned, internet is a wonderful tool nowadays, so that is why one of the things that can be used here is the social media. A couple of days ago, I was reading and having my report on one of those articles. And the article was devoted to the social media environment and mobile applications that were used there. Some interesting statistics came out there. So the information was being done in Taiwan, and the researchers discovered that 98% of their internet time, Taiwanese internet users spent on the social media. I guess that for Turkey, for Europe, for the United States, the situation is very close to that. I mean,
yes,
far more.
Within top 3 countries.
Exactly.
Social media.
Exactly. With more than 3.5 hours a day of using social media. Can you believe it? That for Turkey, the statistic is like this. So it means that social media is quite important source of information and a great platform to share the information. So now every brand has to turn their heads into treating social media quite seriously. So finding conversations online that people are already having about your brand is crucial, because the information is out there, and which is actually really, really important thing is the speed of spreading this information is absolutely fantastic. Nowadays, if the portion of information is out there, it's being spread within just one click. And then you can find at the multiple destinations, which is absolutely fantastic on one side, but on the other side, if the information is not that much desirable for the company, then it's going to be the downturn of it. And one thing that we have to also keep in mind, that people often use the social media to complain more than just to to praise the company. So it means that the brand within this employer branding strategy, the brands have to learn how to treat the negative information in there. I mean, we cannot avoid that. That's absolutely obvious. But we need to how to treat that adequately so that it doesn't damage the brand at all, the reputation of the brand, but still any sort of negativity is a great information source for us to improve. I guess that each business, each company, each brand has to understand that negativity, or let me say that the productive criticism, is an important element to improve and to make a brand better. So let me give some more statistics, as I promised before. Some employer brand statistics here. Some of the most widely cited benefits, together with company-specific examples that are helpful and provide evidence, can be done as follows. For example, The Economist, the magazine that was published in 2006, found out that 20% increase in the pool of potential employees was being caused by the strong employer brand. And some more benefits circle around fourfold increase in commitment among those who joined the companies. And, which is a financial one, that was a 10% decrease in payroll cost. So, later on, I will speak a little bit in more detail in how beneficial, also financially beneficial, employer branding activities can be. And that's the information. The information is coming from Hewitt Associates, that was done within the Human Capital Foresight Research, and it was published in Fortune 500 Company Benchmark report. So, the fact says that the highly engaged employees admit that they're up to 20% more productive. Of course, they understand that they're working for highly reputable brand. And in this case, it gives them the opportunity to come up with better performance, with a higher production in their activity, up to 20%. I would say that this is a huge number. This is a huge number of productivity. And, which is more interesting, 79% of the employees at best, employees say that they're inspired to do their best work every day, instead of 55% of employees in other companies. It means that almost all of them, almost 80% of the employees, if they have this kind of inspiration by the strong brand, by the reliable brand, so they do their job, they do their work the best way possible. And this is, I think, quite beneficial for each company. Some more statistics are being taken from the same report, and the lines goes like, there is a 10% increase in attracting and retaining pivotal employees, which adds approximately between 70 to 160 million US dollars to a company's bottom line. And bottom line, is just the line where all of those, final statistics are being, final revenues are being cited. So the average annual sales growth is nearly 40% higher for the best employees, unlike the other companies who are not, who do not promote this sort of, or not qualified with this kind of, qualification. Another idea is that the best employees enjoy nearly half the turnover and double the applications per opening versus other companies. Again, this demonstrates that careful employer branding can be very much beneficial in terms of financial sustainability. I'm sure that you remember we had some 4 questions that you added one more. The second question was that, can employer brand be treated bad or good? In this case, we need to understand the idea that the employer brand is not only made up of all the positive elements that they offer as the employer, I mean the salary, the bonuses, the incentive, motivation, and so on, but also there are some negative connotations that we also need to take into account. As we said, as we have mentioned before, negativity is also quite important because no one is perfect and no company is perfect. Still, there is some negativity, especially against their competitors. But negativity, let's say that for productive negativity, constructive negativity can be used as the weight in order to improve the company. And this is a very, very important source of information. Again, we do not underestimate that. I would say that for me as a manager, I would be very much suspicious if only positive information is spread out there. And sometimes some wise companies, they, include some portion of also, let's say that relatively negative information, right? Because generally, if the information is mainly positive, then you may not gain any trust from potential customers then, because they would say that, okay, only the benefits are highlighted. What about the downsides? I guess that for reliability, for the trust, it's not going to be great. Now, the idea here, when we deal with the negative perceptions, those negative ideas can seldom be changed through marketing alone unless it's a misunderstanding. Again, my idea is just the companies have to learn how to treat the negativity. Negativity should be out there because it's not possible to have only positive ones. I mean, 100% positive reputation is not going to save the brand at all. Finally, the brand is going to lose reality and trust from customers and employees. A few ideas about how dramatic can be the effect if the employer brand management is underestimated or being done poorly in a non-decent way. For example, the numbers say, and later on, let me just give the source of information. This was a strategic HR management and staffing metrics study that was being done in 2002. I grabbed this information from there. It says that between 10 to 20% high compensation premiums are being paid for the companies with a poor EVP. I'm sure that you know what EVP is. Do I have to give you information about that?
Please, let's make it guaranteed.
All right, so in this case, let me show another slide. Let's go. But it's going to be there. Just a moment. I have some description for that. Okay, it was somewhere there, but
anyway, you can skip. Anyway,
okay.
By the way, you have
employee value proposition. Okay, we call it employee value proposition. Okay, I will explain that in more detail a little bit later. So, in this case, because of this poor employer value proposition, and what means? It means that the candidates view organizations EVP as attractive, they demand less of remuneration from the company. And of course, if they think that it's not going to be that attractive, they require more. For example, unattractive image companies require, candidates require up to 21% premium to attract candidates, and attractive require only 11% premium. It means that the companies can save a lot if they promote their brand as a reliable employer brand. Okay, what is more? I mean, this dramatic impact, economic impact by sound employer brand. For example, reduction in replacement cost can be up to 150% of more of a salary when the employer is taking care of proper employer branding activities. The data here shows that the cost to hire for an employer group is in the range between 40,000 to 60,000 salary range, might be in the range of 20 to 25% of the salary. But again, as we said, the cost of the replacement can be about 150% of the salary in that salary range. This data was taken from 2002 Strategic HR Management TMA Staffing Metrics Study. So it means that it is a certain and quite valuable financial economic impact of poorly held employer branding activities. Okay, but we're thinking about, as employer brand, we're thinking about how to influence, how to spread the information so that it affects the proper way the candidates, the potential workers. In this case, we need to focus on influencers. I mean, those people who have some kind of authority or influence upon our potential staff. And let me turn into interactivity a little bit. Can I ask you about who do you think might be the influencers for our potential target audience?
Influencers. Oh, for example, nowadays, influencers from social media. One example.
Okay. Okay.
Another one, the persons or companies in the linking pin position between potential workforce and the company, maybe.
Sure.
At the same time, marketing research related services. I mean, the companies which are giving those services, maybe. With the help of press, for example, we can benefit from press. Also, maybe sometimes recruitment related fairs, the organizers, maybe, or the atmosphere inside.
If you speak about Turkey, for example, where family ties are very, very close and family
Yes.
friends
So, family members, role
Sure.
models of persons,
Exactly.
as well as, I think these are enough, I think.
Yes, you're right. You have spotted the key ones, and let me very quickly go through each of them. But first of all, I have to make sure that we understand that there is a need to change awareness or understanding of the target group. So, in this case, we need to change the awareness, or we need to influence those people who have impact, who are authoritative to our potential workers. So they say that, in other words, we call them influencers. Especially in Turkey, we said that because of mentality, because of the family ties, parents play a crucial role, especially for those ones who are entry level or graduates in obtaining their first job position. Parents are playing an important role and influence their decisions. So in many ways, as far as I know, parents are taking active role into making the career decisions or helping children to do career decisions. For example, in my country, I know that the person who also was influenced by his parents to make his, marital status decision, let's say so he married his wife because his parents, have taken an active role and chose his future wife, and he said that, yeah, because of our tradition, it has to be like this. Now, these influences, I mean, parents and families, they have strong cultural and economic reasons for that. Why? Because nowadays, because of increased cost of higher education, parents would like to take a more active role. In this case, I don't know, we can call them investors because during the childhood and the teenage, parents invested a lot of their time and a lot of their financial assets into the child, and that is why they want to make sure that this investment is properly used. So that is why parents, families play very important roles. When I say parents,
Dear Sergey, unfortunately, I have to interrupt you, but you have totally, let's say, 2 minutes. So could you please summarize? I don't know how many.
I have 60 more slides.
60 more.
Yes.
Then we will do like this. Today we will stop at some certain point.
Okay.
For the next week we will continue because we have limited time, and after this course I have some things to do. Sorry.
No problem.
But we can stop. I mean, you can go further, let's say, for 2 minutes, and then we will stop. And from the last point, next week we will continue. Don't worry.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much for mentioning that. So again, I would say that I have quite a large presentation. I have 60 more slides with some insights into the aspect, because the aspect was quite interesting and I explored that, enjoyed exploring that. So let me do it like this. Just to summarize that, we now come to a very interesting topic, which is called influencers. Those people who take an active role of making decisions. You have correctly spotted all the members groups, and I'm going to give some more characteristics because, for each of them. Why we're doing that? Because to me, I think that this is quite important element in order to take into consideration while we are planning our employer branding strategy, employer branding activity. We need to focus also on those elements, those components that have to be included properly, and then we need to, let's say, investigate and make sure how we're going to affect those components. So influences is one of the valuable components that we have to treat properly, and we have to include into our employer branding strategy. That is why I'm not going to skip that, and if I'm allowed, I'm going to continue that in a week. So I'm going to give more insights and give some quick explanation about how important each of the components is. Up to now, thank you very much for your attention, and thank you for letting me, and I'm sorry for some long discussion and long comments from my side.
It was very productive. It was very productive. Again, thanks for your presentation.
My pleasure.
I have learned lots of things from the topic and insight, of course.
Me also.
So don't worry, we will continue from the last section next week. So
Great.
have a nice day. See you.
Thank you very much. See you on Friday, 9:30. That's the same.
9:30. Yes, I'll be there.
Thank you so much. See you on Friday. Bye-bye.